one thing that's important to mention is what we're practicing today is different states of consciousness. And states of consciousness come and go. Like dreaming is a state of consciousness that comes, you're in the dream state, and then the dream state goes and it's come and gone. And if you explore different states of consciousness through different practices, it kind of loosens up your sense of identity, so that you there's a sort of adventurous spirit to doing. Life's an adventure, and it's interesting to explore these different states of consciousness. There's also this sort of impulse and a yearning to want to explore different states of consciousness, and also states of consciousness just naturally arise. An emotional state. You might be extremely happy for 5 hours or something, and then and any other type of mood, and they're a bit like the weather, they come and go. But the more you practice different states of consciousness, they transition into becoming traits of consciousness. So if you develop the ability to constantly recognise the radically free part of your open awareness, uncontracted, free awareness. If that's something you recognise on an ongoing basis, it becomes integrated into your sense of identity in any moment, and in a natural way. So when you first start to learn things, it can feel a little bit clunky, like you're trying to do something or trying to fit it into your life. But the more you practice these things, they become integrated into your sense of identity. And so there's also with the ability to breathe and to really go into your breathing and into your body, that becomes an acquired trait through practice. It's a state of consciousness you do when you're sitting there practicing it in your meditation, then you get up and you do whatever. But the more you do it, that becomes part of who you are, the ability to do that in a really seamless, natural way. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that this is to do with how these kind of practices influence your daily life and who you become. You want to do these practices to actually transform who you are as a person throughout your life, rather than just as something that you do. It's just sort of haphazard. And I think a lot of the with psychedelics, which is another whole area of spiritual practice, that it was sort of shamanic stuff. People can be thrown into these really extremely extraordinary states of consciousness, and without harnessing that to like an ongoing developmental practice, they don't quite become integrated into you as a person and transform you for the better. And meditation can be used a little bit the same way, that as a something you do for entertainment or to escape life or that kind of thing, rather than to actually make you a different person over time. Is there anything anyone wants to say about any of that?
When you meditate, is it first thing in the morning, or do you do it later in the day, or?
Well, for me, there was a time when I had a routine. I taught the drums in schools, and I had a set routine every week. And I didn't have any kids, so I would meditate first thing in the morning. I'd get up before anyone else, have some coffee, meditate, and always did it first thing in the morning. When I had kids, and my work started to change to become a bit more all over the place. I don't have a routine every day, so I just meditate when I can.
Okay.
If it's in the morning, evening, afternoon.
So it doesn't really matter.
I think people recommend that the first part of the day is a good time to do it, because it can set the mood for the whole day, and also if you have like a morning routine, it's like the first thing you do every day, and it's you always wake up somewhere, and you've got a bit of time before you start the day, so it's, if you can do it first thing in the morning, that's, people generally recommend that as the good time to do it.
What about drinking coffee and then, is it easier to meditate when you don't drink coffee?
Depends if you're a coffee drinker. I've drunk a cup of coffee every morning for 20 years. It's just part of, so my body's used to it, my mind's used to it. But if you didn't drink coffee very regularly, having a drink of coffee is a big deal. There've been a few times in my life where I've taken a bit of time away from drinking coffee, and when I've had a cup of coffee again, I'm like, So I don't think drinking coffee and meditating is a bad idea, but you'll find the opposite advice from a lot of places too. The Hare Krishnas, for example, don't use onion and garlic in their cooking because they, and I actually believe this is true from my own experience of eating garlic. I use it quite a lot as a medicine, eating raw garlic, and it really makes you very awake. And so they don't use those things in their cooking because it disturbs your mind. I'm not too fussed about all of that stuff. Again, it's a personality trait kind of type of thing. Some people it might be really important.
I'd agree with that. Some people I know can't drink coffee because it makes them wired.
Mm-hmm.
I can drink coffee, it doesn't affect me like that. As well.
Some people drink coffee before going to bed.
Yeah, I think
I mean, I couldn't do that.
I'd be
awake
drink it
all night.
late in the evening, but not too late. As long as it's not too strong. I don't know. It depends on what your body's used to and what you're used to, isn't it?
I think the era of one size fits all, one idea for everybody, that's just gone.
Yeah.
That belongs in ancient history. We live in a different time. But you'll still find people peddling one particular type of meditation or something as the apex of it all, and everything else is a load of rubbish and you're wasting your time doing X, Y, and Z. But I've personally, I've learnt to just follow my own intuition on it. But I'd certainly learn. I'm always engaged in a third-person study but I'm learning from different sources about meditation all the time. So I don't want to be trapped in a sort of first-person thing of just the way I do it is right, and I'm never going to listen to what anyone else ever says. So that's coming back to this first, second, and third-person perspectives. You want to have all three in play all the time. Yeah. So any more questions before we go on to this next bit? No? Okay. So what we're going to do in this meditation session is visualization practice. So this is using our minds and imagination to in our meditation, which is quite a different type of activity to what we've been doing. Visualization's got a long history in all the different religious traditions. Can anyone name some like examples of visualization practice in any of the world's religious traditions?
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What does meditation mean? What's the definition of meditation?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean,
Where does it originate from?
I have a feeling it has something to do with measuring. This is something I heard a long, long time ago. I think it was Krishnamurti. I think he was a famous Indian teacher. So the Sanskrit word, which is from India for meditation, is dhyana. And when that went to China, they pronounced it Chan. Instead of dhyana became Chan. And then when it was Japan, it was Zen. One of the core, I'm not even going to go down that route. But it's a good question, isn't it? Really, because what we're going to be doing today, there's 3 different types of practice. It's all meditation, but they're all quite distinct. So I'm not sure I could even answer that intelligibly. You could say, well, you kind of know what you mean by meditation. Everybody knows roughly what they mean, but if you drill down into it, then you can start to, pass it all out. Okay, yeah. But so visualization. It always takes a while to reorient after lunch, get the mind working again. What? So, was anyone done any visualization practice before? Yeah. Do you want to say a little bit about it, if you want to?
I've done visualization practice in meditation when you're talked through it, guided visualization.
Mm-hmm.
And when I meditate, I can visualize like going to a place or symbols. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
So it's all visualization. It's literally visualizing, isn't it? Singing. So you're singing in your meditation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then perhaps as well. Like we went back to the forest, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've done
feeling of the
visualization
forest, the
guided,
smells
or
and
going to the sea, or I can go to my
Yeah.
office. Yeah.
or by the sea.
Yeah.
waves
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
So this is really embracing the your mind and your imagination. All the things that we haven't wanted to engage in these 2 previous practices. Now's the time to go, full on with all of that stuff. Was there something you wanted to share about? Same.
Particularly from like healing work perspective, there's a lot of training that teaches you to visualize.
Yeah.
It's all visual. It's all what you see, isn't it? So you can see anything in meditation, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite wide and varied, isn't it? Depends where you're.
So one of the uses of this type of meditation is healing disease. So this is really effective. And also a lot, athletes visualize doing their, performing their athletic thing a lot before.
Yeah, it's like visualising and manifesting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's your body doesn't really distinguish that much between what an external stimuli or the stimuli coming from your mind.
Yeah, because you can do that when you're thinking, isn't it? Because you're manifested, but you can also visualising, aren't you? I suppose, yeah. You can visualise yourself well. It's like you said, that visualisation.
So the manifesting stuff, people go a little bit crazy with this manifestation stuff, and I think really I'm just going to let everybody find out for themselves about manifesting things in their lives. yeah, that's a whole wormhole down there. There's a film called The Secret, which is very big. That you can watch that if you want. But I think the one thing I will say is I think it's important to exercise some common sense with this whole manifesting stuff. That you might just waste loads and loads of your life trying to manifest £1 million, for example, and it not happen. And it might be better to just earn £1 million. Yeah. But you can manifest health for sure. You can.
It's also like I guess it's the net. It's right on frame. It's like another level of awareness. It's like awareness but intensified, or not? Like, because if you're going to manifest something, it has to start with like awareness is the basis of that.
And an intensification of awareness and focusing on a goal. It's like a kind of goal-oriented thing. So this is what we're about to do. Is a very goal-oriented practice, where you're focusing like a laser in on one particular thing. And in terms of manifesting things in your life, so if you wanted to manifest the perfect job, you just bring all of your attention into making that a reality, and you're going to have some success with it. It's only a matter of time.
Thought, isn't it? Everything stems from a thought, and then you just focus, put that feeling into it. Is that,
Yeah.
But also maybe you're changing perspective at that point. Maybe the perfect job was the job you always had, but
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, that's that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The different perspectives definitely important to remember. Okay. So we're going to do 2 short, so 10-minute visualization practices. There's tons and tons and tons of visualization practices out there. Excuse me. But what we're going to do is a sort of version of what is often called deity yoga. So, in essence, a deity is an archetypal representation of something. What would be your archetype of unconditional love? We would all have a different archetype, probably. Some character, whether fictional or real, would be the embodiment, the representation of that for us. But we'd all have a slightly different archetype. That you want to choose one that really activates you, which is why we're kind of doing a bit of a departure from a traditional thing where if you're a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner, for example, they've got very clear pictures of the deities and exactly how you should visualize it. So everybody's visualizing the same archetype.
I'm quite word varied.
Hey?
I'm quite varied.
That's okay. That's all right.
Eclectic.
Yeah, that's fine. Or you might have what's the archetype of raw power for you? But I mean, we don't just sort of feel into what that might be for you, and you can see how there's these different archetypal forms, and in this kind of practice, the visualization process is best done you're activating all of your senses. So touch, smell, hearing, seeing. What else have we got? Smelling.
You said that.
Did I say that?
Smell.
Tasting. Yeah. So different people tend to visualize things in slightly different ways. If you're a very visually oriented person, you know, this kind of practice might have a lot of visuals to it. But if you're a kinesthetic person, you might not be seeing a lot of things, but you're feeling something. Or you know, if you really love scents, you know, smelling, you might imagine just the most sublime perfume or something that you're inhaling, and it's transforming your body. So I think you can. We'll all be different types of people with which is the sense that's going to be the dominant one. But you want to try and activate all of your senses, because you want to make this an experience that feels very real for you, emotionally, physically, psychologically. So that's the key to this practice. So we'll do 2. And after each one, we'll do a little Q&A afterwards. I think maybe we'll go with those 2, love and power. So let's start with love. A nice one. So what you need to do is visualize in front of you, to begin with, the archetypal. It helps if it's it's got to really resonate with you. Whether it's a person that's living now, or someone who's died, someone from history, or some fictional character, an imaginary character from culture. See that archetypal character in front of you, with your eyes closed, and then I might just prompt you to engage with this character with your different senses. Okay? And what we're doing is you're going to absorb, so this archetypal character is going to give to you the love. And that you might feel that sucking in into a particular part of your body. You might see it. What does love smell like? I don't know, or taste like. So you are in a relationship with this archetype, and the archetype is, you are receiving. This archetype is greater than you, more loving than you could ever imagine being yourself, and then you're being given that somehow. Okay. So we'll do.
So is that like someone you know, or like?
So okay, it's got to be really powerful for you. So whether it's someone you know personally, whether it's someone you've read about, whether it's someone like Dumbledore. I mean, I don't know. It could be any. Yeah. So you might want to just take a minute or two to just, it might be Jesus. Yeah. Take a minute or two to zero in on who this archetypal figure is, just for the first couple of minutes. So once you've landed on the archetypal embodiment of love, try spending a bit of time on each one of your senses. And receive the love in a very real and concrete way. Like if you're feeling it, with your body, where's it entering your body? What does it feel like? If you're seeing, what does it look like? Is it rays of light coming out of their heart into yours? Or are they embracing you? What do they smell like? If you take a bit of a wander through your five senses, you might find which is the sense which is the most powerful for you. This gift of love wants to really land in your body and in your emotions, in your heart and your mind. So, who's got something they'd like to say about that?
That's quite intense.
Yeah. Say more.
So kind of the image of the being wasn't really anyone specific. I don't think it was more of a figure, or a woman, I think, a mother maybe.
Mm-hmm.
When you said to imagine I always think of myself as not a very visual person, and I don't. When I close my eyes, I don't really see visual.
Mm.
But I just did that. It was kind of like you ever seen the movie Avatar? When they're in the jungle, all these colours and patterns and shapes coming around and wrapping me. It's really, really colourful. Yeah. Didn't want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. The term visualization is a bit of a misleading term because it's got visual in it. And I think it's really important to activate all of your senses with it, and also go with your natural inclination. I'm quite a kinesthetic person, not a very visual person. So for me, when I was seeing stuff, for sure, lots of things, but the more potent thing for me was the sensations inside.
Just what it usually is for me.
My body. But I was also experimenting with, what's it taste like, the smell, the sound.
Yeah, I was exploring. None of them was as strong as the visuals that time. Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else want to share something?
I really struggled with that. I think I am really visual, so I thought, oh, this could be easy. And then I tried to visualise my mum, who I haven't seen in years, and then it all just got too much, and I was like, not now.
Remember what Ralph said at the beginning?
Yeah, I was just like, this isn't, don't go with that. And then...
But what an amazing thing to do on another occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the time's right, absolutely go for that one. Yeah.
And then I started to visualise the person that I'm seeing, and then I was also like, no, now is not the time for that either. And then I was like, well, what? And then I then I thought about my sister, and then I was like, where is it coming from? Like how? And I really love her hands, and I was like, oh, what do her hands feel like?
Yeah.
And I know what I really know what they feel like. And then, but it was really vague. Like, I think I'm quite good at visualising stuff, but it was still quite vague. But then I imagined her putting her head against mine, and then I had really intense, and I get this quite a lot when I'm falling asleep, like I feel here is like kind of like that. And I felt that really intensely for the last, I don't know how long, but it was just like constant energy in my head.
Yeah.
Third eye work.
And was that like a loving, benevolent feeling? I mean, obviously, love can be fierce as well as gentle.
I was trying to visualize it. Like, okay, so it comes in here, and then does it fill me up like this, or does it go down out into the ground? And I was finding that quite difficult. And then I went into this thing. I was like, but maybe she can't give me that. Like, no, but then I'll take it. And then it was like, don't try to not receive it, And then I was just like, forget about all of that and just feel the feeling in your head. And I just really felt the feeling in my head, and that was a good feeling.
Yeah, this is your mind. This is using your mind like a laboratory. It's you can really experiment and have fun with this and be creative and be surprised by it. I don't know about everyone else here, but what I was experiencing was surprising me. It was unplanned, you know, unrehearsed. It was spontaneous. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And that's when that kind of thing's happening. I think you're on the right track with that. If you're being surprised by what's happening, is quite a good indicator that you're doing something authentic rather than dead and rehearsed. You know, if it's a living thing, it's really key.
I had a similar thing I couldn't find initially. Went through a sort of sequence of characters and I think I intellectually wanted to create a sort of, I suppose, Mother Earth type visual, and then I was like, and then suddenly I was thinking about a cat from when I was a child that I had for a long time, and so the cat was there for quite a long time, and then the physical form of the cat was too small because she was a really small cat, and it morphed into a lion, and then I was like, yeah, it's the lion, and it was about the purr, the vibration of the purr that's actually the same you say you fixated on.
Yeah.
That's when I could fixate on something, and then I was like, okay, that's it, and that was just sort of where I stayed.
Well, the lion's an interesting choice because the lion's really associated with courage.
Yeah.
And courage obviously comes from, you know, core, like in French, heart. You know. And using a childhood pet, it's a great idea because, you know, you've got loads of positive emotions bound up with that, you know, from baked in from really early on. So, yeah. It can take a while to find the archetypal representation of something for you, and through your life it can change. You know, I've never really been that interested in Jesus as an archetype until the last couple of years, and I really find the image of him with his heart open, like a sort of Catholic image, for me really powerful now. Whereas you know, that would not have been my choice. I mean, wasn't my choice today, but it wouldn't have been my choice 10 years ago. Anyone else? Thanks for sharing that.
I'm with my mum, but then that wasn't going to work. So I had a mother figure come forward, light. And I felt a cloak coming. It was all very light, and I felt really warm. And I felt like through my heart, it felt quite wonderful actually. And I felt expanded as well, and I could taste. It was like almost, I don't know if it was like icy sugar, sort of Turkish like taste, and also I could smell hyacinths and roses, and that was really quite symbolic. I could just hear ringing and bells as well, but she was just. I could feel the touch as well on my heart, and before you rang the bell, she put her head to mine as well, onto my third eye, and touched my shoulders, and then just literally, you rang the bell just straight away after. So, yeah, it's quite intense. Like, when you sound like very intense, and it was just very light. I can see it's just light. Yeah. So
which made me think that if this archetypal figure is someone like your mum or your grandma or something like that, that you would have a lot of smells and you know, your grandma might have cooked a particular type of cake that you can, if you bring that taste back, the smell of the kitchen or something, that whatever it takes, all the resources you can use to make this a really real experience, so you can actually feel it, and then
I just feel it. She's the one I figure, so I used someone who was the one I figure, and that was But originally I was going to use my mum, but that's like too. Let's not do that. Just So she came through, and I was just like, okay, that's cool. Here we go. Just do it really.
So there's a whole other type of visualization practice where you visualize giving yourself. So this is a receptive visualization where you're receiving the.
So like giving back to yourself and your inner child outside, like you back into yourself.
This is like you're actually nourishing your soul or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, this is food. This is subtle realm food that you're, you know, and as a resource in life, I think we were talking about like the forest, or you know, it's just like you know, there are times in your life when you need some of this going on, and you can take the time and say, well, I need some of this now. I'm going to tap into it, however you want to do it, and you get real physiological, emotional, psychological benefits from doing this stuff.
And trusting in that as well. I think as soon as you let go of that and trust, whatever comes forward is usually that.
Yeah, well, so I think work with what is actually coming out, rather than trying to shoehorn.
I tend to just allow, and when it surprises, it does surprise me sometimes what I go into, what I see, and I'm like, oh, that's why, and I realise after I think, oh, that's why that came through, and it makes sense because it's quite symbolic as well, isn't it?
I've had people have difficulty actually receiving love in this particular meditation, and that is, you learn something about yourself then. So you know, why can't you receive love in that particular, you know, and then that could become part of this visualization practice, could be an inquiry into how you can get over that obstacle. You know, for a start, just noticing it is the beginning, and then there's all sorts of things you could do to address that.
I wanted to share that I found it very easy to begin with. Then I was very sleepy, probably from lunch, and I was sort of basically almost asleep, and I sort of came out thinking, oh, I didn't really do it. But then when I realised suddenly you weren't playing music, but I've been listening to music for the last 20 minutes. And it's just like a harmonium, very high-pitched noise. I came out and I was like, oh, that was nice. Oh, you weren't playing music. So something was happening.
Yeah.
It was constant.
Cool. The sound of love. And I think love means different things to different people, and it has different aspects. You know, you've got fierce love, gentle love, the love of a mother to a child, or the love of a lover, you know, romantic partner. All sorts of different aspects of love. You know, it's quite a general word, you know, but you can really explore all the different aspects of it, and it's worth taking the time to do that. It's a really nourishing thing to do. Has anyone got anything else they want to share? I really enjoyed that, personally. I'll confess, I don't take enough time in my life to do this, you know, for sure. Every time I do it, I realise how good it is. I should do this more. Yeah. Okay, well, I think rather than do power, I mean, there's... You know, the sort of, there's like a sort of generic list of archetypes. You get them in the tarot and things like that. That, you know, you can do any range through any of these archetypes. But we're trying to keep it relatively simple today. How about the next one we do is healing. So if there's a particular part of your body or something that you feel really needs some heal, has everyone here looked up about placebo and visualization and
not in
you know?
relation to each other.
Sorry.
Not in relation to each other.
But you know, healing but you know, people healing their bodies without using medicine, but using visualization in their mind and that
and
kind
where
of
it's
stuff.
placebo effect, how strong it can be and how it's often more powerful than the actual drugs that other people are being given.
Yeah, well, one of the things that blew my mind about was that every single drug that's ever tested, there's a placebo aspect of that testing, and there's always a placebo effect. That's the part, and it's published in the literature with all of every drug trial.
Yeah, my sister kind of works in that industry, but she talks about it, and it's often they'll have drugs that work, but they'll do trials, and the placebo actually have better results. And even I've heard a story about when people have been told they've been given the placebo, and it still works.
Yeah, Yeah.
So
It's fascinating, but the reason why I bring it up is that for some people this kind of thing just makes sense without much explanation. But if someone was of a very rational, scientific, logical persuasion, you could just and they wanted to get the benefits of this practice without it having to be like some hippie woo-woo type thing. They might look into the placebo literature, you know, and that might be their gateway through the logical thinking into the benefits of this. So yeah, if everyone happy to do like some physical healing thing, okay. So if you think about some part of your body which doesn't quite feel right today, and we'll do another visualization practice where, again, run through all of your senses with this. So let's say my ears are feeling a bit funny. I went in a flotation tank, sensory deprivation tank, a couple of weeks ago, and I've just had a bit of water in my ears ever since, and it's a little bit annoying. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And you know, what is the quintessence, the archetypal perfection of healing for my ear, for me? You know, what does that look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What's the taste? You know, really exploring that, making it as real for myself as possible in relation to my ear.
Sorry, you're making the archetype as real as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So something,
Yeah.
one being something, and then that person thing is going to heal your ear somehow.
Yeah, okay, here's a bit of a funny one. So let's say you had dodgy legs. You might visualise somebody you know of who has the most perfect legs. Yeah? Like some kind of gymnast or something, or some yoga teacher, you know, and you know their legs are so healthy and they feel so good, you know. That might be what... Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're just visualising a leg, like, oh, the great legs, or is
No,
then
okay,
they
right, yeah.
to heal you,
Okay.
because they have so much leg power, they can give it to
Yeah,
you.
so, okay, it's difficult to describe because there's so many ways you could go with it. So, okay, just off the top of my head, if it was the leg thing, I might visualise that some yoga teacher with incredible legs might sort of turn round and sit inside my body,
Okay.
put their legs inside my legs, and communicate to me, this is what healthy legs feel like.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so that's like and then what does that feel like? And then you,
Yeah.
um,
Like you download their.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
you're downloading the healthy leg.
Yeah.
Um,
Leg cells.
and however but you've got to make it feel powerful and real
Yeah.
for you. And if it's not working with one of your senses, if you're not seeing it, then feel it. And if the feeling really works, it's like, okay, I'm just going to stay with that for a moment, and what, you know, go with the feeling. Okay. So everybody got something they're going to work on. It might, again, you know, take a couple of minutes to actually feel what it is. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's going to take me a while to find the archetypal perfection of ear. I've never done it before. But don't influence me. It's got to come from me. All right. Okay. Here we go. So remember, this is a living exploration. important part of this meditation practice is to see yourself healed, successfully healed, as if that is now. So transition now into a feeling that the healing's actually taken place, and it's not something that lies in the future, it's actually now. Now visualize yourself, feel yourself, sense it, the part of your body that wasn't quite right is actually now completely okay and perfect and normal. Not as a future state, but right now. It's already happened. See yourself using that part of your body totally normally and healthily now. So,
I visualise, not like I don't really have a problem with my hand, but I want to play bass well. So I visualised MJ laying his hand in mine, like his same hand, same side hand. I mean, because I've seen him, he plays guitar really well, and bass. Like he can just do it. So I imagined that I was just getting all of that. My hands felt a bit tingly, like a little bit pins and needly, and then the last like I don't know how long that was, but last few minutes I was just visualising me playing bass really well. That was great.
cool.
So it wasn't really fixing anything, it's just, I guess, like, I want to work towards that though.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I do get a stiff hand, like, because I'm not used to it. It kind of like seizes up a little bit. So this visualisation is all really fluid.
Yeah, yeah. A fluid hand.
Mm.
Yeah. That's a good one. Because that's what, when you see someone who's really good at an instrument like that playing, they're just, it's just so smooth and silky and effortless. They're not doing unnecessary movements. It's all really economical. And to visualise what that looks like and feels like, what would it feel like to be able to do that on a fretboard? You are learning there what that feels like. Yeah. When I was at school, we could only use the drum kit very rarely, and I was obsessed with drumming when I was a kid, and I would just dream about it. I would play the drums in my mind, and I'd get better. When I'd go to rehearse next time, I'd be like, well, I can do that thing. And it was because I'd been doing it in my mind, and I was literally learning the drums without even playing the drum kit. So it's a similar thing that you want to get to that point where it feels like that on the fretboard, and you need to inquire, like feed into what would that actually feel like to do that, and then you're actually learning.
Like fake it to make it.
Yeah. How about anyone else?
I had quite a cool visualisation for a bit. I was thinking, not particularly about anything, but I've had quite a lot of acupuncture in the past for like damp clearing, Chinese medicine. So I don't know if this was linked to like meridian systems or something. I started thinking about water, and I had this kind of moment where there was sort of passage of water, or passing through different points of my body, in and out, like weaving. And then it was coming out of my mouth. And I really wanted to cough, and that kind of stifled it all, because I didn't want to cough. So I got stuck in this, like, don't cough.
You've given her the fear of coughing.
No, you haven't. Yeah, so it was kind of like, but for a moment there was this really strange sort of train of water going, like weaving. It was like a water slide.
That sounds really cool.
It was
Interesting.
cool. Yeah, it was on the mouth.
Yeah. So this is about getting moisture out of your
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's the like purge or the expulsion.
Coffee's really
Yeah.
releasing
Cough
as
is
well.
like
Coffee's really releasing.
right, yeah.
It's coming out really.
That's it. It's quite visual.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily feel. It wasn't very physical.
Yeah.
It just was sort of there.
Yeah.
Although I think I probably intellectually was trying to think about the chi, because I've had it where I felt in acupuncture, I felt this like huge flow
Yeah.
through the arm. I was thinking about that, so maybe that was past experience kind of coming into play.
Yeah. I think with this stuff, it works best if it's living in the moment.
Present, yeah.
Yeah. Because something that's from the past is unless it's got a very, very strong emotional charge to it, it's kind of like it's a dead thing that's not living anymore.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
been doing loads of press ups recently, and I've really a knot has appeared in the back of it. It's been there for about 2 weeks. It's just not going away.
Did it? Not going away.
Unintended.
Yeah.
And I was
But
visualising. I could see like a black leopard. You know how their backs are all like they move with like perfect kind of relaxation.
Very supple.
So
Yeah.
just moving. I could feel myself moving in that way.
Yeah.
Just kind of releasing the tension that's in there. But yeah, it's quite hard for me to stay on that. And kind of again, my mind would just drift off.
But the drifting thing that's okay in itself, because as long as it's tied to the theme. So for me, when I was sort of feeding into like about my ears, I suddenly realised that they just need to dry out, and then I was in the desert, and I was a camel, feeling this hot, dry air in my ears, and then that kind of lost its juice a bit, and suddenly I had a couple of hair dryers drying out my ears. Then that kind of lost. That was really like vibrant for a bit. Then that kind of lost its juiciness, and it changed into some really, really fragrant Ayurvedic balm. That some super Ayurvedic wizard had put in my ears, and it like smelled incredible, and it was like really powerful drying out kind of thing. So I was going on a bit of a journey, but it was all linked to the aim of so I think it's important to let yourself flow with it. For that, if you try some rubber or tennis ball on a wall. No?
It's a good idea, yeah. I haven't really done anything to it, I've just kind of let it be there.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the ear candles for yours?
Yeah, I haven't used one of those for a while, but have you got one? Yeah, no, they sell them in town. Yeah, Hopi ear candle.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share?
I think I experienced the same as what you two said, really. I was concentrating on my knee because it's really quite sore, and when I bend down and try and get back up, it really shouts at me. And it's quite swollen. But yeah. So yeah, the warmth of someone's healing hands on it, perhaps, and I was visualising. Can't say that. Visualising. The little, tendons and muscles kind of contracting and stretching a little bit, and how healthy your knee would feel when it moves and stuff without the pain. Yeah, and the balm, there's a magic CBD balm that a friend makes, and visualising that getting rubbed in.
There's something I said it during the meditation. I meant to say it during the instructions, that it's really important as part of this practice that you see yourself actually. So say you've got a problem with your knee. To actually see yourself as if it's actually happened and it's real. You can see yourself actually running or using your knee without any pain, as if it's already happened. You're sort of tricking your mind into believing it's already the case. It's quite a key thing to it. Yeah, this is like medicine without medicine. If you were on a desert island and all you had was this, you could really go to town on it. I'm not saying it's going to knit your leg together if you break it, but it certainly can do all sorts of beneficial things for your body. So is there any questions about anything before we take another break? Very happy to answer any questions about anything. Right. All feeling quite chilled out. Good.
Can sound help in that practice of visualisation? Like using sound alongside?
What, actually
Yeah.
playing a sound? Well, I've done quite a lot of sound therapy, not so much with the gongs and bowls type of thing. Recently, the last few days, I had a quite emotionally turbulent few days, and I've purposefully sought out music that is a very heart-based music, that sort of emotional music, but in a soothing heart-based music, and that would be different. What does it for me is going to be different for you, but I actually chose to listen to a particular type of music, and it really just in the day, driving, doing the housework, setting up this room, and that really helped.
Have you used music whilst
meditating? So there's something called binaural beats. Has anyone heard of binaural beats here?
Yeah.
You guys, the self-optimization experts, must have. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So binaural beats are. You have to listen to this on headphones. It plays 2 sine waves. The sine wave is like boom kind of sound. In each ear, but there's very slightly, the pitch is slightly out between the two, so it kind of goes boom, oscillates like that. The difference between the two induces brain wave. So when you're awake and alert, you're producing a beta brainwave pattern. This is what comes out on let's get these mixed up, EEG monitor, which is a low amplitude and it's kind of like shallow and fast, like that. Hertz is it's the cycles per second of the thing, and then in a relaxed kind of daydreamy type state of mind, you produce alpha waves, which are a little bit more like this. Then in dreaming and deep meditation states and stuff, maybe very deep dreaming, I'm not entirely sure, but you produce what's called theta, which is more like this, and then in deep sleep and it's very, very, very deep relaxation, you produce delta, which is more like this. And binaural beats, you listen to the different, how much you change the difference in the frequency between the 2 sine waves induces one of these different brainwave patterns. So it's a way of kind of hacking your brain to get very relaxed. And so it's not very pleasant to just listen to for an hour or whatever. But what people do to make it nicer is you put kind of nature sounds on top. Common ones, rain or waves, that kind of thing. So there was a period of about 5 years when I meditated every day with something called holosync, which is this was a long time ago, a binaural beats thing, and it's a progressive one that took you deeper and deeper and deeper as the years go on. And I loved it. It really, really was a great thing. And I still use binaural beats sometimes for napping, and if I'm feeling tired, just 20 minutes. And there was a time when I had quite a lot of insomnia, and if I woke up in the night, I just put that on for a couple of hours, and it was kind of as good as sleeping. So,
does it help with like chatter in your brain or something, like if you're trying to meditate?
Yeah, it sort of forces your brain to relax. You know, it's almost like taking a drug or something. You know, it's making something happen. So yeah, you do get extremely relaxed and blissed out.
It changes the brain waves, doesn't it? It makes you go to a different mental state.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's what these
that.
different.
I use tuning forks as well. That sort of goes into the cells as well. But any music or therapy is really good for all sorts.
Yeah.